Daniel Stenberg with McKenzie County Economic Development.
Thank you for joining the Crude Life here today. I wanted to start off with an update from Watford City. One of the things I always like to check on Watford City is what's going on with some of the activity, because as we've talked about, Daniel, with the past of Watford City going from, a couple thousand to almost 10,000, I don't know what the exact populations were, but 300% growth population, so there's always something changing there. And with the being in the heart of the Bakken, there's just always some activity going on too. So give us an update from Main Street there and the surrounding areas in Watford City.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Appreciate the opportunity, Jason. Some of the things we got going on is our county has approved $5 million to kind of help jumpstart the infrastructure for single-family and housing. And so we're expecting to see a lot of building happening. We have a need for about 100 homes, and this should help. This funding should help make it affordable in order to get these houses built for the builder, or give them enough incentive to want to come here. And so we've got some developers who are submitting plans, and we're going to hopefully see a lot of single-family housing getting built. But any more building workers, if people are looking for work, Watford would probably be the place to come for this year.
Hold on here. Let me just reset that one. This is is this a grant, or is this, what do you mean by dollars? Explain that a little bit. Like who exactly would benefit from this in terms of economically, in terms of a builder, is it basically?
Well, so what we're doing is that for certain housing developments, the county is going to cover the cost of the infrastructure, but then the developer has to promise to build that out into housing a certain amount by the end of this year, and then 100% of those units by the end of next year. And if they do that, they won't have to pay for the infrastructure costs and lump that into the lot. So it should be reflected in the cost of the lot and the eventual cost of the house to the home buyer. But then it also provides some assurance to the developer that that those costs are going to be covered by the county. And so we had applications come in, and we'll be awarding those within the next few weeks is the goal. And so then once that, they're going to need to be getting all the builders and everything lined up in order to make it happen.
That's an interesting approach. I've never heard of that. Is this a creative way to just spurn some economic activity? Is this normal? I guess I'm just curious, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no. With this as far as we know, this is something that we just kind of developed for our area. We kind of have very unique circumstances, and one of the biggest challenges for growing our economy is the workforce. And in order for people to move here, we need more housing. People don't just want to live in an apartment. They want to bring their family, and they want to live in a house. And so we would just want to make sure that we can get some more options out there so that we can continue to grow and meet the needs of our workforce demands.
So this pretty much signals that you, Watford City, a lot of the energy companies that you guys are talking to, they're still looking at the Bakken as a long-term investment, 20 years, that sort of thing, that people are looking at. There will be, oil and gas activity, provided that, oil prices stay above $30, really. It just seems to me like that's another vote of confidence that the energy industry is doing well and looks to be doing well in a time when there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Is that a fair question?
Right. Yeah. One Oak we were just celebrating their new Demix Lake gas plants, multiple plants that they're doing, and that's like a $10 billion of investment that they've been doing, and they've got more planned to get that going, just because there's just so much gas to get processed out here. And those are long-term jobs working for those facilities. But then also, we've got another school being built, and that will be finished this fall, and for elementary students. And so that, but it's going to be pretty much full once we get that in, and that will be able to shuffle the students from what we call the intermediate school into a true elementary school, and then we'll have a true middle school as well. So we'll have 2 elementaries, 1 middle, and 1 high school. Right now the high school is 7th through 12th, but now it will be 9th through 12th once this fall starts. We've been transitioning to Class A, and that's just brought about a lot more opportunities that we haven't been able to realize before with a smaller student base, but our enrollments continue to grow for that. And so we're looking to meet all of our demands for students as well.
Were you involved with the career fair that you guys had at the school? I know that there's so much done with that Rough Rider Center now, and that's an interesting osmosis approach. And I don't know if it was done intentional or not, but just the Rough Rider Center ends up being such a, I guess, commonplace for a lot of different events. And then, of course, with the school, you have the theater over there and the auditorium. And I don't know where that career fair was or that safety fair in February last month was, but how did that go? I know it was another opportunity where it seemed like some industry got exposed to the kids.
Yep. Yeah, no. So we did kind of an informational session about all the things that the school systems throughout McKenzie County, Alexander, and McKenzie County Public School District 1, and talking about what they've already been doing with career and tech ed. Alexander is sending students to the world competitions in robotics in Detroit, Michigan in a couple of months. And then like the CTE programs are career and technical education. There's a lot of opportunities for vocational agriculture, learning some trades like welding, things like that. But we're also looking towards what can be in the future as well. It seems to be a hot topic throughout the state, the idea of career academies. And we're just kind of exploring, what could that look like for our community. We wouldn't want it to just be for high school students. We'd also want to be able to provide some, they call incumbent worker training, where, somebody's been in the workforce for a while, but wants to get promoted and they need to go take some certifications or something. So, can we provide that here? We've been working strongly and closely with the University of Mary and Williston State College and Train ND, and we want to continue those relationships to just make sure that we can provide as much opportunities here in our community so that people don't have to travel for their education.
I saw something coming up in April that had to do with behavioral health, and I know that's a topic in the energy industry that people take very seriously. So whenever there's an event along those lines, it's good to get the word out there. Are you guys involved with that? Do you know anything about? I have absolutely no idea if you're even qualified to speak on that, but I know that you got your finger on a lot of pulses in Watford City, and this is something, like I said, the energy industry, they do like to know about anything that has to do with behavioral health, whether it's from a certification standpoint or sending your employees to do whatever the deal is type of a thing. Do I have the right city here?
Correct, yes. It's going to be April 28th through the 30th. And Vision West, North Dakota is the entity that's really putting it all together. But it will be at our Rough Rider Center, like I said, April 28th through the 30th. It's an opportunity for professionals in the behavioral health fields to kind of come talk together, talk about the field in general, but then what are the specific implications for Western North Dakota? What are our specific challenges, and what can we be doing to better our situations with behavioral health? And and so that's what it's going to be on April 28th through the 30th.
Okay, that's good. What else is happening in Watford City? I know you have that, kind of the main thing is this building grant that you guys have, or this program, and make sure you summarize that again, because it is something, like I said, it's something I've never really heard of before, so it probably is worth mentioning again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that we actually have two programs that are open right now, and one that is kind of available for anybody, and that's up to $50,000 for for building a single family house that has 3 beds, 2 baths, and that all of this can be found on econdev.mckenzie.county.net. And then there's a link for housing, and then it describes the two programs. And then the other program, the developers have already applied. That RFP session has closed, and we'll be awarding that within the next few weeks is the plan. And then they are going to have a pretty big incentive to get their houses built, so that we can get more, because their infrastructure was going to be covered, the cost of that infrastructure. And so we'll be needing a lot of builders. They will be needing to find a lot of builders in order to come out and make sure that they get all of the housing built that they are planning on.
So is it
other things that are happening is we've got the Long X Bridge that should be finished by the end of this year, that expansion into a 4-lane, and then they're also got approved from the DOT to expand Highway 85 to 4-lane from Watford City to the Long X Bridge, which is the first segment in what we hope will eventually be a 4-lane from Watford City all the way to Interstate 94. But we got to do it in segments, and they got that first segment approved. So we're happy to hear that, because it's just such an important road for connecting us to everywhere else. And then if we can have a 4-lane road that connects us to the interstate, that just opens up a lot more opportunities, as well as obviously safety issues as well.
Well, and go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I keep going back to, these are just more signs of opening up the artery to those distribution arteries, opening up the flow to the distribution arteries, which is more signs and signals that everybody seems to be pretty confident that this industry is going to be around for a while, because these are some big departments making some major investments based on the energy activity out there. And what you mentioned earlier about One Oak saying, yeah, not only do we just put $10 billion here, we're going to put more out here too. I mean, this is great. I just, because it's like I said, there's a lot of uncertainty out there with the banks wanting new certifications and climate change and Bernie Sanders and whatever else and this and that, and this is some good news, man.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously we want to make sure that our community, we don't just want to build it for one industry either. People are attracted on various levels. They look at the daycare, they look at the education, they look at the main street, they look at the restaurants in town. All of these different things, what are the annual events that your community has? And so we want to just make sure that we're as well-rounded as a community as possible, and so that we can attract not just the energy industry, but a lot of other industries and young people as well. Like this summer, we kind of have big 3 events in the summer. The county fair will be June 18th through the 20th. The county fair is, and then Home Fest is July 10th and 11th, and then Rib Fest is August 14th. Last year we had 8,000 people on Main Street for Rib Fest. We have a free concert and everything, and so those are just kind of some of the more things that make this a community. We want it to be well-rounded, and opportunities for a lot of different people to come and make this their home.
How's the ag sector doing? I know you guys try to be balanced out there, but at the end of the day, it's, a lot of communities are basically driven by a few key industries: energy, ag. Bismarck for a long time was basically government because of the state capital. Technology, obviously, in Silicon Valley is what fueled a lot of those communities. Watford City, for traditionally it was ag, and then, the boom bust cycles, if you will, of energy. And from, the sounds like, energy has become a stable industry. And how's the ag industry? And are there other industries out there that are, kind of a pretty good core industry? Talk about some of those other industries for a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of good grazing land, and we've got way more cows than people out here, and that industry's been doing decent the past few years with prices and everything. Last year we had a pretty decent year for moisture, not too much, not enough either. I mean, we usually are on the dry side, but we ended up with pretty miserable moisture. And so going into this next year, we won't be starting out dry like we have some years for the people in the fields and everything. And then in terms of other industries, besides agriculture and energy, I mean, we have, Teddy Roosevelt National Park is just 13 miles south of Watford City, their north unit, and we get, a certain amount of people visiting, especially in the summertime, that they're trying to either visit all 50 states and they need to hit us, or maybe they're trying to hit all the national parks, or they just really like Teddy Roosevelt National Park, like to go hiking in the Badlands or want to see buffalo in the wild, things like that. In the national grasslands, almost half of our county is actually in national grasslands, and so there's opportunities out there as well for the public to go out and enjoy that. And then our whole northern boundary is Lake Sakakawea, and so people go out to Tobacco Gardens or McKenzie Bay or just the different marinas that are available. So yeah, a lot of opportunities.
So I'm not totally familiar with the agriculture in Watford City. Now, I know that when you get into central North Dakota, the pulse crops start pretty well, sunflowers, and you get over to Sidney, Montana, and you start getting into some sugar beet country. Do you have sunflowers, pulse crops, sugar beets, or is it mostly just cattle and grazing?
We do have some crops. I mean, when I was growing up, it was mostly just wheat, but we do have sugar beets in the Yellowstone River Valley on the west side of the county, and then there's still wheat, and some people are doing beans. A few people are doing lentils.
Okay. I just, like I said, I haven't been out there and looked at the crops, and but I'm familiar with, like, say, Sidney and even Williston, what they're growing near there, and it's so different when you start getting out near the Badlands that a river valley can completely change the complexity of an area. Because you can go, you can go across the street and be completely dry, and on the other side be completely flush with water. It's just so weird. But, well, all right. In closing and summary, just kind of recap a little bit what you want people to remember, to take away, either about Watford City or about the loan program or both, but just kind of an exit portion of the interview, if you will.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're shaping up for 2020 to be a pretty vibrant year with, we're trying to get our good count with the census. Those efforts are important, and so to get everybody to make sure that they get counted for the census. But then, we're going to be seeing, I think, a bunch of housing getting built this summer, and they'll always need more workers for that, and so people who are able to build come check things out here for that. And then, come visit any summertime opportunities. RibFest, like I said, is always a good time. They shut down Main Street, both for RibFest and for Homefest. And then the county fair is always a fun kind of event for lots of people. There's rodeo and demolition derby and all of those things. And so come visit us, come check us out. If you're looking for a job, let us know. Go to jobsnd.com, look at those jobs, or give us a call here at the Economic Development Office, and we can maybe point people in the right direction as to what our needs might be for workforce.